Hi again. Just got back from the grocery store. That was a lively experience. Kind of crowded there today. It's Wednesday, and it's the first Wednesday of the month, and so all us old timers are up there with Social Security checks. I don't get mine for another 2 weeks. So, but man, it was pretty lively. These old folks are really had a lot to talk about out there, pushing their carts around. The economy is the number one thing on everybody's list, and the cost of food and everything else. So if these guys running for office don't figure out that it's all about the economy, dummy, they better stop talking about all their little other problems that they're talking about, because that's going to be number one. And I live in a pretty much a blue state, but I don't live in an area that used to be all blue. Living on this island, we're kind of divided like we are the country. It's kind of the north is red and the south is blue, like the Civil War, I guess. But the thing is, it's just everybody has got the same complaint, including me, is that we're running out of money before we run out of month, and that's a condition that I've seen before, and it is not a good sign. When prices in the grocery store are going double in 2 weeks, and then you start doing some research on why did coffee go up so high? What is it? We don't have any tariffs. Well, it turns out we do. Some of those tariffs have been on for a long time, but they did everything got raised. And the people who are importing that stuff are making a heyday out of it, because it's a tax on us. The price coming in for them didn't change. The coffee is coming in, but they're putting the tariffs on just in case they all decide they're going to keep them on. So then they'd come back and want collection. Well, they're not willing to come back and pay us back if this all falls apart, which it has. It's just that he's going to push everything to the Supreme Court, and then it's a crapshoot because we've lost control of everything. So the thing that kept hitting on me about all this is that we should have seen it coming, because this isn't something new. They tried to institute a lot of this stuff back in the 1970s. I was in Vietnam at the time, and I didn't know what was going on here, but when I came back, it was obvious what they were doing. But they had already hooked Nixon, and they were throwing him out of office by the time I came back. Hell, I thought Watergate was a bridge that went over some river or something that they had just built, and somebody absconded with the funds. It turns out it was a hotel or something. But anyway, that whole thing was for a purpose, and it had to do with what they're doing now. This groundwork was getting laid clear back then, and it was very low key, very at the bottom, because the first thing they were doing was going in and taking over the school districts and the city councils, the mayor's offices, all at the local level, and they start building on that. And if you've ever noticed what they're doing, because this is a fascist regime, and it has been designated to be that for a long time. So they are working on a different set of rules, and they're telling anybody, especially the people who are supporting them, have no clue what the plan is. They don't read Project 2025. So that ignorance of the public is what they're playing on. And the other thing with the other side is that they don't do anything anymore. They haven't had a platform on the party for I don't know how long, at least 2 elections. And the reason being is they aren't going to do anything. They're undoing everything. So they just stand there and point fingers and say, this is bad, go get them. This is bad, don't go with that. This is that. It's judgment, and they hide behind the church to do it. So this nationalism, Christian nationalism, is fascism in disguise. So the handwriting has been on the wall. A while back they called it one thing, and a new age or something like that, and it was running by storm, and it brainwashed all sorts of people into social things, not religious things. The religion is their tool. So the tool is not, it's not the church doing it. It's the people who support this regime. And it's the only word I can think of to call it, but it was a movement back in the 70s, but it was only among the upper crust and a whole handful of politicians. But they gradually took over the whole thing from the bottom up. They got into all of the elections, and they got into running the councils, the county. They took that. Then they moved to get the state control, and then how many states can you get? And then they put in Citizens United. And actually even before then, because the gerrymandering and everything started clear back in earlier than that in the 80s. And it has been an organized effort to get us to this place. And they play on the ignorance of the people. But the thing is, it's been back and forth, Democrat, Republican, back and forth. And it isn't that the Democrats are doing anything that we would say grab them, and because they know, the Democrats, we bring everybody up before a hearing if we think anything stinks, and that includes our own people. But that doesn't mean the politicians are in agreement with that theory, that thesis of how to run the things, but they have to go along with it. So the Democrats, when we got into office, we did nothing. We could have fixed all that shit that was happening since 1980 every time we got into office. That's how it's supposed to work. But neither side wants to fix it. Neither side wants to take the blame for it. Well, now the Republicans, they don't care if they take the blame or not. They just lie about everything. So what's there to say they did? Everything to them is a lie, and it's all everybody else. That's that baby mentality of that 5-year-old we got running the country. So anyway, that's all of this. But on my side of it, when I look at the spiritual world that I have been immersed in now for at least the last 10 years, if not 30 years, these things that have been happening, starting with 9/11, that was a synchronicity we were meant to pay attention to. And we paid attention to it, but the people who should have been looking into it weren't. So it happened, and all the ramifications that came after that happened, and we still don't know what happened. But we do know it didn't make sense, the story we got. So that had my shackles were up over that, because I was an investigator for a long time, and I can't let go of things that bother me. And when I also had an engineering background. So when 9/11 happened, I looked into things that other people were just oblivious to. And there's a lot behind that says it didn't happen the way it did. It couldn't have happened the way they say it did. And then there's other aspects that go into the politics and everything about that whole Trade Center thing. And then you got the Pentagon and all the other stuff. So that was an indicator that we should have our guard up, but we weren't. We went after perpetrators, bring them down, and it was not anything to do with that. The whole thing was we needed to get the military-industrial complex back to work in a big way. Dick Cheney, I think it was, or Rumsfeld, one or the other of them, said that in a conversation that was overheard, that they needed to have a Pearl Harbor-like event to get the people to stand behind them. And that was before 9/11, right before it. It was during the end of the election, and young Bush hadn't gotten in quite yet. It was still being decided. And they said they needed that Pearl Harbor event to give him that edge. It happened. 9/11. It happened after the election. He'd won it. But he had gotten the people behind him, because in August, before 9/11, there was a big call going on in this country to impeach him. Because just like every president the Republicans have put up since Richard Nixon, other than maybe George Herbert Walker, have either been actors or people who are hired to play a part, even though they aren't actors. Trump's no actor. He's a con man. He wanted to be nothing but a mobster his whole life. He's wanted to be John Gotti's little avatar or something. But that's his thing. But then we come up with COVID. And that's another thing that's telling the populace, these indicators, these synchronicities, they're for the people. If we can get our heads around things and notice, okay, this happened, let's see what the wave response is going to be to this 9/11. Well, you move down the road 10 years and you see that 10 years later, it wasn't what we thought it was going to be, and we're still in a war. And so then it's just one thing after another going on with countries that really had nothing to do with anything. So COVID is teaching us, it was there to teach us that be ready for a collapse again. The towers collapsed as an indicator to watch out for the collapse, and now the collapse is here. This is your premonition of it. COVID, lock yourself down. The whole world is involved in it. That was no accident. It may have happened as an accident, but it was no accident that it happened. And it's no accident it happened when it happened, because it's setting the stage now for things that were also kind of a indicator was in 2012. That was telling us this is the end of something, the end of a millennia, the end of an eon. It is the new beginning. And ever since 2012, these other things have been just subtly happening. And people that are aware of it are paying attention. It's going to culminate very soon. Right now, we are sitting economically in this world almost exactly where we were prior to the 29 crash in 1929. The indicators are all lined up that it's going to happen again, and it will happen soon, this year and next probably. I don't think it's going to happen until, I think it'll happen before the election in 28. But that would be long reaching, because there's a lot of things I think are going to happen between then and now. And I'm not going to be surprised with anything that pops up, because it's all energy, and that energy that we are feeling is not energy being directed at us. It is all a response to how we have been living for 10,000 years. It all has been piling up, and each generation adds to something else. And then it collapses, then it comes back in another form, then it collapses, then it comes back in a new form. We were the beginning of a new form, and now it's collapsing. Other things are collapsing. Christianity can't stay the way it is. It will too collapse, because the message that it's built on is not the message that was being sent. So that is something that Christianity is going to have to deal with. The Pope sees it. He knows it. That's why he's talking the way he's talking. The church is not supposed to be about judging people. They are not the judge. But they are. In reality, they are the judge. That's what they think. Everybody is under the church. Well, that's not the way it was. If you read other new writings from the words of Jesus when he was preaching back then, they aren't anything like what is printed in the Bible. And the teachings that are being found from back during that time, written by the very disciples who were with him and following him, the apostles, weren't the writers of the books in the Bible weren't even born yet when Christ was walking the earth. So the book became, instead of the book of Christ, the New Testament became the book of Paul. And if you study Paul, you'll see what I mean. But he never met anybody. He had some kind of an interaction on the road to Damascus, I guess. But that's another story. So anyway, everything is lining up, and there's indicators telling us that something is happening. I mean, I can feel it in my body all the time. I have this thing where I feel like I'm vibrating from my feet to the top of my head 24/7. Even laying in bed, I feel vibration, and it's like having tinnitus, which I also have. It's a constant ringing that never ends. It's there when I'm awake, it's there when I'm sleeping. It's been there my whole life since I had my NDE. It was a filter that I was given. Goes along with the other filters. But that is something that is designed to be with me now, because it does filter out things that maybe it isn't what I need to hear. It might be something that would confuse me. I don't know. I don't know the actual purpose of it, but it has a purpose. And 90% of the time, I don't even know it's there. I don't notice it unless I stop and become aware of it. And then, okay, it's still ringing. Sometimes it silences way down. But whenever something is getting ready to happen energetically, I start to feel it, either in feelings of emotion or feelings of vibration like now, or just energy emitting, because in the Reiki teachings, everything is about energy, and your hands are just as important as your heart, because the hands have the energy that you can use on other people. It's like aiming your target with energy that is based in love. And the thing is, there is no distance in Reiki. It will work if they're next to you. It'll work if your hands on, but it will work if they're 1,000 miles away from you. All they have to do is be willing to receive it, and you send it, and it will find what it needs to do. But the most beneficial thing is that whenever you give Reiki to somebody else, you benefit yourself. It comes back to you in that mirrored reflection of everything that is outside of us. It's that feeling that comes back that you're trying to achieve. You help other people because it makes you feel good. Anyway, just thought I'd partake that. You know, every time I go to the grocery store now, I feel like I got somebody else riding with me. I told that clerk that today. I said, when I'm pushing that cart down the aisle and I come up to something and I'm going to reach for it, I start talking to myself, having a discussion about, well, do I really need that? Holy crap, it's like, $20. And so it's like, I have this identity following me around talking to me about groceries. There we go. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings, but it's the way I see it. So, my opinion, kind of like other things, everybody's got one. Have a good one.